All right, it's 4 o'clock. Welcome everyone. Let's start the presentation for Secure by Design. There's some people coming in, but hopefully they'll find a seat. So, first let's thank all our volunteers, presenters, organizers, sponsors. It's a great conference. It's my first time at the Drupal Con, actually, so pretty excited. Hello, my name is Janna. I'm a software engineer specializing in Drupal, security, UX, and other things, and I'm from Brisbane, Australia. If you haven't heard about Brisbane, you will probably hear about it in 2032. It's an Olympic city, and that's not a official mascot yet. It's a royal ibis, also known as a bin chicken. You'll find out maybe why. So anyway, our agenda for today: why security is important, state of cybersecurity at the moment, what is Secure by Design, and we'll start the Secure by Design project. We'll look quickly at the development practices to enhance our security. We'll also look at AI and cybersecurity, and we'll go through the action list. So why security? So once your website has been compromised, even if it's just a brochureware website, you'll lose data, you'll lose trust, the malware can get uploaded, your users will get compromised, so it's your reputation online as well. Like, even if it's a small charity website, if hacker gets to update and change the link to the donation page, all the donations will go somewhere else, and they can steal their credit card details and all of this quite easily. So what does cybersecurity even mean? Have you ever received a penetration test result and you're like, oh, I need to do this? In 2020, I received a couple of pen test results, and I had to rectify them for the clients I've never worked for. And it's like everything is pretty much the same. It's the check boxes that we can actually prevent and make our applications secure. And how do you prepare for the penetration test? And what happens when your web application gets compromised? And how do you even know that it was compromised? In many, many cases, the security feels like an afterthought. So we actually need to put it in the front and center of application development and our mindsets. So if we look at what is cybersecurity, so what are the requirements? It's confidentiality, integrity, availability, and some other things in a small text. And what does and the scope of this presentation will be just the application development. So security is multi-layered. You have physical network, human security. You need to train your humans, your clients, your developers, and things like that. We'll just look at the application level, but it's also the levels intersect. So who is to configure web application firewall, and who is to install antiviruses and things like that. So it's a teamwork. It's not just sysadmins or SecOps prerogative to think about security. So, state of cybersecurity. Can someone tell me latest cybersec hack they've heard? Just anyone? Anyone heard any cybersecurity incidents lately? Just scream one out.
From the node.
Huh?
Yeah, node.js.
Oh, okay.
The packet manager.
Yep. But like big hacks and big companies. So it's very lucrative for hackers to get into it, and these are the latest ones. Japan almost ran out of beer because Asahi couldn't produce because their factories got shut down because all of the data was encrypted and they couldn't do anything. Jaguar in United States, in UK, supply chain was a disaster. Just they shut down for a couple of months, and 1 week password on a company in UK as well just shut down the whole operation because they couldn't pay a ransom. So it's just news are coming out every week when you pay attention. Another quantitative measure of how many cybersec incidents may have happened, common vulnerabilities and exposures database. So it's where all the issues are being collected and reported. So the 2025 probably will hit 2024 level of how many vulnerabilities are there. And we can also look by the types of the vulnerabilities. And someone said some time ago that, oh, cross-site scripting is dead. It's like, no, not really. It's still there. Cybersecurity in Drupal. Is everyone subscribed to Drupal security advisory here? Every Wednesday receiving everything? Yes, excellent. Yeah. So Drupal is pretty good with that. So we have disclosures and transparency reports, and they report SVEs as well, CVEs as well, and we have the coding standards and the code review processes and things like that. So it's pretty good. But I was safe. We have Symfony framework and Twig, and we know all those things, but probably not. So the Drupal.org security advisors since Drupal 8 probably. Some stats, quick stats here. We did get a couple of iffy situations, and the types of vulnerabilities pretty much the same as well. So still cross-site scripting, authentication bypass. So it's all repeating patterns pretty much everywhere. So let's think secure by design. So secure by design, when we think about that, let's try to get the security as a core business requirement into the application rather than just features post factum. So for example, some laws in UK were introduced only like April 2024 about default passwords. So no more default passwords, where like 10 years prior there was default passwords on baby monitors, and if hackers knew or anyone knew about those passwords, they can listen to, or the cameras, they could listen to that and see that because there was default passwords. So that took them 10 years to sort of create a law, no more default passwords. That's not really secure by design. Secure by Design initiative was created in October 2023 by Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency in the United States and 17 other United States and international partners. FBI, NSA, Australia, Canada, UK, Germany, Netherlands, New Zealand, Japan, Singapore, Germany, and so on. So it's a really good resource to see what's in how the government tries to lead organizations into thinking security first. So the idea is that the product should be resilient out of the box. Security configuration shouldn't be your user's responsibility, and the complexity shouldn't be customer's problem. So it's like you don't put your own seatbelt in the new car. The car comes with the seatbelts because that's how it's the standard for it. So the tactics for it would be security first mindset, secure development principles, implementing default features, embracing transparency and accountability, and creating your vulnerability disclosure policies and following them. They also have bad practices list. It's a fun read. I have all the resources later for download, anyone if it's interested. And also I looked at the technical guidelines by OWASP. You might have heard about them. So they created top 10 vulnerabilities or attacks, and they also have a lot of good resources on web security testing and cheat sheets and things like that. Another resource that I used is the government guidelines. Australian government created guidelines for software development, which is a really good resource, which includes a lot of things that are for targeting CMSs as well. Your government might be creating something similar, so check that out, add it to the list. So let's imagine we are creating a project, a product or a web application, and we'll think about secure by design first. So it's like mobile first back in the day, so that you design it for mobile and then it expands for the desktop. And so we'll create that with all those documentations in mind. So first let's put the project in Git, because it's very, if you're not using Git and there are some companies, applications that are still not there, that's a big security threat, because Git, GitHub, GitLab, and other online repositories, they provide a lot of features for security, like static testing and dynamic security testing, and security advisory scanners and secret storage and things like that. So make sure your project is in the GitHub or GitLab. And the other thing, before you start developing, develop your policy and procedure for secrets storage. Where do you store your API keys, access tokens, and passwords that are used for integration with HubSpot or with your payment gateways? So make sure you design the system, you document that so that all the developers know that they should not be committing that into GitHub. And those secrets should not be put in any logs whatsoever. If you haven't heard about Facebook 2019, they kept so many passwords, user passwords in the plain text, because they were just collecting them in the logs. That database was a log database. And don't keep it in Postman. December 2024, huge leak. Postman leaked lots of API keys that companies were storing there, so don't trust Postman either. So this is just some news about exposed access tokens. And if you search GitHub for access token, you might find some people's old access tokens to their Gmail accounts and things like that. Just go to GitHub and search access token, and it will be just amazing how many people committed something that it should not be there. I worked at the company where we had someone committed the AWS key, and next morning we had a $5,000 bill because it was scanned, and then someone just deployed many machines. Yep. So also you can install Git Guardian. That will prevent, it's a hook, pre-commit hook, that will make sure that if you are committing something that's considered to be API key or something, it will make sure that you don't commit that. Because once it's committed, it's in the history, it's already there, too late. So next, vulnerability disclosure program. Who has a security TXT installed on their web application? And does everyone know what security TXT is? So it's not just one file, it's a whole security disclosure program. So you need to know who is going to be contacted, how, and utilize the tools for it. So GitHub actually has security MD that will disclose specific file that has all the vulnerabilities maybe you want to disclose if it's your open source project or things like that. So it's a whole policy, and Drupal has a module for it, of course. So security TXT module, and Drupal.org has this security TXT that's available for everyone to know exactly how to report vulnerabilities. I discovered a couple of things on a couple of web applications online for Australian government, and they didn't have security TXT, so I had to contact cybersecurity agency and say, hey, can you tell those guys to fix this? So next. Yeah, so as I said, GitHub has security MD. Has anyone looked at it? Has anyone noticed this feature? So our friends at the CK Editor actually use it, and they show all the vulnerabilities, so everything that has CV, and also what is security issue and their policy, and it tracks vulnerabilities there. So it just, once you know, and it's also when someone says, oh, is your project secure? And you can say, yeah, look at my security MD. I have policy, I have my reporting, everything's there. So that it means that you're thinking about it already up front. And GitLab unfortunately doesn't have it. So if anyone wants to comment on but there is an issue for it from long time ago. So if you want to comment on it and say, hey, GitLab, can you please implement it? It's quite important. So it will be really appreciated. Maybe they will implement it if there will be like couple of extra comments. So next, HTTP headers. It can be a talk of its own what HTTP headers are, and Drupal has all these modules to install those headers and to configure those headers. So we have Secit and CSP and things like that, and then you can test it as well just to see how well they were implemented. And with those headers, it just you whitelist what you actually want to allow your web application to use. If it's going to be GPS location or not, so that if there is some sort of malicious script embedded into your web application and wants to use a camera or a microphone, because you have that headers enabled and it's a no use of the camera, the browser will not allow that. So let's test Drupal.org security headers. Ouch. Yeah, it's kind of a case of cobbler without the shoes. And this is content security policy of ChatGPT website. It doesn't fit. So they just allow a lot of things and don't allow a lot of things. And the permission policy example from Facebook. So they basically, if you think that Facebook listens to you, yeah, they pretty much listen to everything, because they say, yes, we will listen, we will allow, or it's not like they are listening, but they're saying to the browser, we want to enable microphones and we want to enable cameras and Bluetooth, and no, it even goes into accelerometer and things like that. So, moving along to authentication. So how can we harden authentication straight away? So first it's just developing the policy of the passwords, and multi-factor authentication, making sure that the whole organization who this web application belongs to is actually following the policies. Oh, I think it's a wrong slide, isn't it? Yeah, those are headers. Oops. Anyway, so the slide is from the previous one, but the authentication, how can we get the authentication going? So the password policy, and Drupal has a lot of modules for that. The login security, the flood control, the auto logout, the session limits, the multi-factor authentication, and username enumeration prevention. So all those modules, depending on how deep you can go, you need to go for your authentication security. It takes time to enable it and to think about the authentication hardening. Just as the previous news from July was that 1 weak password for a company allowed hackers to get in, and also multi-factor authentication wasn't implemented on the whole of the Hamilton City Council in Canada, and they actually had cyber security insurance, and the cyber security insurance didn't pay out $18 million of damages because they didn't have multi-factor authentication enabled everywhere. So that's where the cybersecurity insurance comes in as well for the things that you want to present. So next one, API security. So do you know when you enable API in Drupal, it opens up pretty much everything, all the APIs. So if you have 100 different content types or 300 or whatever, everything has all of those. All of this content is available via API. Do you have controls for it? Do you how do you throttle the access to it because there's no tokens out of the box? How do you actually need to open all those all this content available via API as well? So this is the API security is as big as an elephant, and if you enable GraphQL, then you need to think about the authentication as well. There's a lot of data breaches were associated with that. So again, we need to think about the login, the throttling, and actually what are we exposing, making sure that it's not we're not exposing more things that we're not supposed to. So I think JSON API extra module should be put into the core of Drupal as well. So next one is file system security. So make sure you don't trust anything that users are uploading, and make sure you have the antivirus for that. So there's a module for that in Drupal. At least ClamAV will check all the files that are being uploaded. And make sure that your file system is protected as well. So don't let file listings, don't let any publicly uploaded or from any unauthenticated or even authenticated user, don't let anything unvetted to be published either. Why? Because if someone uploads the malicious content, that it will be, and if you display it straight away, or if it's available in a public form, it will get indexed by search engines, and it will get consumed by LLMs that are indexing everything as well, and that there was, and it's still going, a big attack on all the forms that are that allow users to upload files and that are in the public folders. This information is right there. You can search for it. So here's an example. So if you search any sites with .gov, with PDFs and senior discounts, for example, this is a screenshot. Why, for example, the city council has a senior discount for Air France in America? Why would they? And they have this dodgy phone number. So if someone, and this phone number is reused in many different types of attack, and it was reported as a scam. So they use some other phone numbers if you need to do a refund, and they put this in PDFs everywhere saying, oh, if you want to talk to a human from this airline, just call this number. Yeah, it doesn't exist. And also, this is an interesting discovery. If you search for parent directory on sites default, so this is Drupal, there will be quite a few Drupal installations that allow directory listings. So if you go there, you'll see that there's a lot of misconfigured Drupal installations in the wild, unfortunately. So next, to prevent brute force attack, we have captchas and antibots and honeypots. So all of these Drupal modules are available to install, to configure. So that's another thing to think about. And make sure you protect your non-production environment. There's all these different things you can do on your UAT environment to protect it. Because there was a case a couple of years ago in Australia where UAT environment didn't have any passwords and didn't have any authentication, and 16 million records of identifiable records of clients were stolen, and they didn't have any logs, and they didn't anonymize it, and then they said sorry, and CEO quit and got another job in another company as a CEO. So yeah, nothing really happened, but your data is floating somewhere there. Yeah, and production readiness. What do you do when you go to production? You need to have a checklist to make sure that you're that you know that your user one restricted or disabled, that maybe you don't need field UI, views UI configuration. Also, maybe put config read-only module and config log. If users are allowed to change configuration, you need to know who changed what and when. It's not only just to track. It will be like if the client comes in and is like, oh, you changed something, and you're like, no, I didn't. It's this user changed this because for whatever reason. Also, make sure there's no detailed debug or error messages. And yeah, you can add to this production mega task more and more issues to do. So this is secure by design project, even before we started developing any features. So these are the secure features. This is 20 tasks of security only for like to make sure you know everything what's happened in this installation, in this application. So when someone comes in and says, so what do you do for the security of this application? And you say, oh, here you go. These are the 20 tasks that we actually will be enabling on this web application. And also, when you come time for penetration testing, you can say, oh yeah, that's all good. We covered all those basic things. And how long do you think it will take to actually implement and enable those things and actually get the project managers and clients together to develop password policies or security policies and things like that. So it all takes time. It's not just like that and it's done. Also, you can reuse it and create recipes out of it, out of those issues. Create like authentication hardening recipe. So, and your password will be, and all the other modules will get enabled once you install the recipe, for example, just to speed up implementation. All right. So let's next move on to enhancing development practices. So actually get a bit in the code with a bit of security in mind. So we do work with frameworks and we do work with parameters and SQL queries, and we do web application output and coding. So all the good things, but sometimes something doesn't work, sometimes doesn't go to plan. So when we look at the threat vector of web application, browser-based attacks, something that we are trying to prevent, and there's also different other things where hackers can exploit. So let's look at the code. So what's the input into our web application? We have forms data, query string, cookies, HTTP headers as well, something that can be injected into header. Local storage, client databases, we don't control what's there. Third-party API response, you don't know what's coming back. Maybe they get hacked and now you need to make sure that all their responses are clean. Also, you can go next level, extracting and displaying metadata from images that can also get compromised. If you have an application that recognizes text and images, that can get some malicious scripts in there and links and uploaded files, and yeah, it's pretty long. You can get some easy fixes with CDN and enabling XSS protection. You'll just get blocked, or just don't use raw unless it's really required, and make sure you use XSS filter and HTML escape in your twigs or in PHP. If you search for raw in Drupal GitLab, it returns like 3,000 results. So if anyone wants to get onto the security board, you can try to troll through some of the modules, and maybe you'll discover something where raw is like, no, you should not be using raw there. Some of them look a bit, dodgy. So this is created probably maybe junior developers or someone who was in a hurry and didn't really look at it, and it just got into the modules. And if anyone heard about gsfuck.com, so this is JavaScript, and it prints out alert 1. So cross-site scripting can be very inventive. So try to put that into any of your forms and see if your cross-site scripting filters will filter that out or not. Another thing, SVGs with cross-site scripting as well. How well Twig will fare with that or not. With JavaScript as well, there are a couple of plugins that you can use for security to make sure that you don't use evals or don't put debug information into production. This is one of the debug information from a Drupal website that has some API calls, and that's a major Australian travel agency. I don't know why they should print that out. And if you use Zero, look at their login. It's like, I don't feel like this is actually a financial institution that does my taxes and my company's taxes, and they print this out in logs. It's like, no, that's not good. No, keep it clean, because it means that you think about security, that there is nothing for the, if hacker will see that, they'll say, oh, they're sloppy, they might be somewhere, they're doing something wrong, and find out that, even if it's only public information anyway. So there are some easy fixes and there are some not so easy fixes. If you want to learn or have a look at how vulnerabilities in the wild are actually discovered and how they're fixed, have a look at Drupal advisory and the actual commit of the fix for this particular vulnerability. So this one was access bypass for IPG, which is a third-party API provider. And in this case, you really need to know all your HTTP headers to make sure that this particular call is not being cached anywhere, because this is authentication call to the API provider. So, so this particular thing is Symfony framework, how it's done, and this is very similar issue with Next.js. So they did the same this year as well for authentication provider. So they just cached it as well. So the whole of internet, like once this request goes through, it gets cached. So your API key gets cached on the nodes, and it's easy to scrape and find out. So this is where it's a good idea to look at some CVs or reports and say, hey, how did they fix it? What did they do? So that you don't make the same mistake. The next one is web application output as well. So this case we have XSS filter applied to this particular issue, where it wasn't before, just was displaying plain text. And this is also a Drupal issue from the CleanTalk module. So they would just take the HTTP user agent and save it. It can be, and also it wasn't parameterized, so yes, double whammy there. So you can practice your security skills, get a contrib module and review it, see how it goes. Do it together with a junior developer as well. Say, hey, let's look how well this contrib module behaves. So just what are sort of admin restrictions, the validations or protections and routes and things. So for example, what's wrong with this particular module, do you think? So they have admin config path with the permission access control. Yep. It should be administrator. Yeah. Anyway, so fun part, AI. So I did a quick prompt a year ago for WordPress. Let's get a query string and save it and see what happens. And Copilot gave me this. So it just basically took the query string and saved it into a cookie. A year later, ChatGPT said, oh, no, you need to use the sanitized text field, because we don't trust those query strings. And then I asked ChatGPT for explanation. They're like, oh, yeah, that's why. It ensures the value has no, the value is safe. And then I asked Gemini and said, are you sure you need to use that? And Gemini said, yeah, you're sure. So it's good the LLMs are evolving and they read all the security issues and they actually tell you that, yeah, you should be using sanitization of the inputs and things like that. But also be very, very careful. Has anyone used the Boost Your Productivity with AI in Google Chrome? So it's just in developer console, because if you have, make sure you read the disclaimer, because they basically package it and send it off to Google. So if you open it on your net banking application, all the tokens and session values will be sent off to a log somewhere. So yeah, be careful. Also, another thing, beware of slop squatting. That's a more NPM package issue. But yeah, so there's a lot of fake NPM packages are being created because of how AI is generating and hallucinating. And the data breaches where people just copy-paste the whole thing into ChatGPT. The latest one was in Australia, New South Wales flood victims' personal details were just copy-pasted into ChatGPT. And no one knows where it goes, how long it stays there, can you even delete it? So with all of that in mind, action list. So what do we want to do? If you haven't subscribed to security advisories, make sure you subscribe. If you're using Drupal, there is also your government one and NPM and all the other ones. Just see what's happening in the world, what kind of issues are happening. Have a little quick read of the publications that are mentioned, and also look through the code base and make sure there's no silly things like raw outputs, and run the dependency audit and check that you don't have anything that's outdated. In the next 3 months, brush up on Drupal secure coding practices. There's a good guide on the Drupal.org. Have security discussions in-house. Have a look at your web applications, how secure are they in terms of thinking about secure features. Review your existing project based on that. And in the next 6 months, think about the next conferences. There will be, here in Vienna, there will be Cyber AWASP conference in June. Maybe come and see what other people are talking about. There are lots of cybersecurity formal qualifications, and next project start as a secure by design project, and become a security champion so that you can make sure that your application and your company's applications are safe. And here's my resources. You're welcome to go through the GitLab project and see what's there. And yeah, I'm on Slack or LinkedIn, on Drupal.org. Find me. If you have any questions, we have 2 minutes. Yeah.
I have a question about keeping Composer and NPM packages up to date.
Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat?
Yes, I have a question about keeping Composer and NPM packages up to date. Like currently, we're just updating them every sprint. Is that something you would do, or would you do it differently?
With that, yes. If you're really paranoid, you can have your own layer of packages where you download them there and they sit there, and then you ask some CISO person to make sure that they update that. So if you are very paranoid or you have a very strict security policy about that. On the other hand, we do get those issues. sometimes, and NPM is trying to make sure that if something happens like what happened a month ago, it gets rectified really quickly. So, and of course, you should have your staging environment where you would do that first, you'll test it, and then it's open source community as well, so we're all working together to make sure if something is not right, it's being fixed quickly. So you could go to the route where, yeah, just lock it out, lock it down, make sure that nothing gets from out of internet to the staging environment or testing environment, maybe wait a bit, see what's happening, because it's not only just open source community, there's a lot of security research companies that working on that stuff, and when they see as well when like 500 packages have been updated, for them it's a red flag, so they are looking after that. So yeah, if you want to subscribe to sneak.io newsletter, you'll see how they're working there as well, because that's their reputation as well, and that's their job.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. We're out of time. Thank you very much. Thank you.